Hello and welcome to the Tea Party Hardy channel. Well, it looks mostly like President Trump is going to be released from the hospital tomorrow morning, or tomorrow, and be able to return to the White House. That's pretty amazing. He's 74. He's not skinny. That is those are two things you don't want on your checklist when you get the cootie. And he got the cootie, and those were the two things on his checklist. He had no additional underlying conditions that we're aware of. And he does have the greatest doctors in the world at his disposal, just like Boris Johnson did. But according to the report I heard, Boris regretted that he waited so long to go to the hospital, whereas Trump was the next day going, I can't stay cooped up in this tiny little house. Remember, he's a billionaire. So they sent him to the hospital and gave him a whole wing. It's like, woohoo! Hopefully it was the right wing. Oh, sorry. Anyway, President Trump is getting an unprecedented mix of cootie treatments that could be risky or exactly the right move. And with that in mind, that he's doing this to himself, and the way he got the cootie, which we actually don't know how he got the cootie. We don't know if it was from Hope, or we don't. We really don't. Another reason to doubt the validity and money being spent on contact tracing. Really seems like a huge waste of money if you can't even find out with this guy who is under surveillance constantly. Why are we spending money on that? But that's a different discussion. So here's the deal. Would you rather have a president who has the cootie virus antibodies? He's not going to be susceptible to it again, possibly ever, and definitely for the 3 months, but possibly ever. Remember, this thing's only existed since January, so we don't really know the longation of some of these things on how they play out. So when we say, okay, he'll be free of the virus or protected from it for 3 months, that's only because we've only got 6 months to study. It might actually be, he's never going to get it again. Or would you rather have a homebody who never leaves his basement until the last second? Hayden Biden, as they were calling him. Joe Biden's basement strategy will backfire. And so he finally came out, didn't see his shadow, and so he kept going, and he's still going, but he's no Energizer Bunny. Don't get confused with that. But consider this. Here's a guy who's terrified and wears the mask more than Batman does. And Biden, and then you've got over here, you've got Trump, who, just say he played fast and loose, to quote Tim Pool. Maybe, maybe not. He's constantly tested. Everybody's tested who sees him. When he does those outdoor rallies, he's far away from everybody. And then you have people like Pelosi saying the most stupid medical advice ever. Surprisingly, no. But when she says, oh, because he invited it because he never wore the mask. Lady, you are telling... Wow. You should get banned from Twitter for saying such things like that. The masks are to protect, supposedly, you from giving it to someone else, not you from getting it. The only ones that protect you from getting it are the N95s, and the N95s, they're only 95% accurate. That's where they get their name. It turns out kind of cool. Yeah, so she embarrasses herself, and does the press call her out on it? No, and they really should have on that, because, again, she's sending out all this bad information. Oh, if I wear a mask, I won't get it. Yeah, well, the Mandalorian got fired, so don't be trusting the mask to be saving you every time. Call back to my last video. Anyway, so think about these choices. We have a guy who's brave enough to try all these risky medicines. He goes out today. This is actually a picture. He goes out in the car to say thank you to all the fans that were out there to support him and send him some goodwill and some good cheer. And so he gets out there and he's like, yeah. And he's done a couple of videos on his YouTube channel that have been picked up in other places where he's like, it's all good. I'm going to be fine. Don't worry about it. I've learned a lot. And he has learned a lot because he's the number one guinea pig in the world right now, because most people would consider having the president fall off the planet really dangerous. And yeah, we prefer them to make it to the end and then we just vote them out. That's the way a good democratic republic should function. But of course CNN will have none of it. CNN anchor confronts the senior Trump campaign advisor after the motorcade. Trump's downplaying the cootie. Dude, it's his cootie to downplay. He's the one that's sick. Do you get in the faces of any other illness and any other ailment and tell them how they should be doing it? Oh, I couldn't help but notice you just had breast cancer. What are you doing? Period, 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 period. No, get out of his face. It's his illness. CNN anchor Ana Cabrera battled Trump campaign advisor Jason Miller on Sunday over whether President Trump and his campaign has followed the necessary protocols for preventing the spread of the cootie over the course of the past few months. Lady, it's a virus. You can't stop the virus. Anytime you hear people say stop the virus, I got into this fight with this guy the other day, and he's like, well, no, the mask, they stopped the virus. I'm like, really? Where did you hear that? He goes, CDC. I'm like, send me the link, because I haunt those ridiculous pages. And so he sends me, goes, says right there that it will help slow down, or it will help stop. And I'm like, You do understand there's a huge difference between helping stop and stopping. And anybody who's listening to this is going to be an adult because kids are already snoring by now. You understand the difference between stopping something and helping stop something. Yeah, they're not even close. They don't stop it. So says the CDC. All right, anyways, so she's just tearing into him. He's been downplaying the cootie, and let's just be honest. Let's call a spade a spade. Oh, and she doesn't get tagged for being a racist for that? Cabrera told Miller. He hasn't worn a mask every time he's been holding these rallies. Again, the mask doesn't protect you, and everybody is far, far, far than 6 feet, which is the American number, because different countries have different numbers. Some places it's 6 feet, some people it's 12 feet. It's, yeah, whatever. But the point is, the cootie, it's not a very good walking cootie. It really needs to like fly onto you. It likes to fly onto you without social distancing, without most of the people in the crowd wearing the mask. So talk about kicking somebody when they're down. But again, let me ask you this, and then we're going to wrap it up. Do you want a courageous president who knows that the world leaders are watching him? And he didn't cower. He never cowered. He waited forever and ever and ever to wear the mask because, again, he doesn't need to. He's not going to give it to anybody. And now that he is in the position to give it to them, he did put it on, and he's had it on. Do you want somebody like that who leads with courage, or do you want somebody who hides in their basement? This guy doesn't have the antibodies. This guy's not even anywhere near the antibodies. Consider how much he's gone out. Consider how many times he's answered questions of the press, as well as Harris, along with him. Neither one are friendly with those microphones to answer questions. Do you think it's going to get any different if they win? Do you think the cities that have been rioting since at least May 25th, do you think that's going to be any different? Oh, but when he comes in, it will be different because it's their side. Did you forget that BLM and the kneeling started under Obama's reign? That was during Obama. It wasn't during Trump. And it didn't actually exacerbate under Trump until a few months before the election. The whole racial tension thing. And, you know, for those of us that are rational and do not appreciate double standards, because there is no justice with double standards. If one group can say one word and another group can't, that's your double standards. That's not justice. That is definitely not right. And it also proves the point that if one group can say a word and another group can't say a word, then it isn't the word that's the issue. If one group can say the word and the other can't, then the word is not the issue. It is another way of saying, oh, if you say that word, that's a bad word, you're in trouble. Because you said it, and you said it hundreds of times. So it's not a bad word. Oh, that's true, huh? Well, then you're a bad person. So that's the secret. You're just looking for a way to point your finger and say that's a bad person. Because it isn't the word. It can't be the word if somebody's allowed to say it with the, is it immunity or impunity? Or does it work either way? Maybe it works either way. So we've got the basement dweller with no antibodies, no courage. This dude, if he was in the Wizard of Oz, he would have a lot more hair and it would be yellow. And then you've got this guy over here. Let's get a good picture of him. You've got this guy over here, speaking of yellow hair. If he was in the Wizard of Oz, many would say he's the guy behind the curtain. Yeah, but he knows what strings to pull behind that curtain, because that dude behind the curtain controlled Oz rather well until you-know-who showed up and started to rain on his parade. But Oz was functioning quite nicely. People seem to forget that and not notice that. Yeah, he used a projectile, but don't we all? In one form or another, don't we all use some kind of projection to go beyond ourselves? And those who don't, we call those people depressed and sad. Yeah, hopefully they'll change. So those are our choices when we get to, well, in this ridiculous time where you can vote for months. Months! There's this thing in the Constitution that says when you're supposed to vote. It's a lot of craziness. It's not just the first, it's not just the second Tuesday of November. Or is it the first Tuesday? It's the first Tuesday of November, but it's like, and then there's the clauses. It's like, wow. Because when, in 2016, when Trump was elected, it's like, it was November 8th. I'm like, how does it, we've never had one that long. And I've tried to look up the dates, and it's like, that is just weird that it was that late. It was really weird. First time in my life, and I'm not as young as some of you whippersnappers out there. So, excluding that we've completely destroyed the Constitution in relationship to voting day, and we get all this horrible craziness with people voting weeks and months, and then if you try and take it back, like, oh, you're trying to crush voting rights, and you're trying to suppress the vote. No. I mean, it's not hard to see it coming. That voting day is going to actually be the whole bloody year. Because it's already months. It used to be voting day, and we're done. Then they extended it to 2 weeks in some states, because it's all based on the states. In some states, it was extended to 2 weeks, and that was like 20, 30 years ago or something. It was that recent. And now it's months. So don't tell me that it's like, you're using hyperbole when you say that the voting is going to be for the whole year. Really? Was it hyperbole to say that a man could marry a man? Was it hyperbole to say a woman's going to be able to marry a woman? Was it hyperbole to say that a talk show host is going to become president? Was it hyperbole to say a guy who was a community organizer and was in the Senate for like the blink of an eye to become president? Don't talk to me about hyperboles in this country. This country does some crazy stuff. And speaking of crazy, do you want the guy who hides in his basement and has every intention of hiding in the White House? Isn't it interesting that they tore into Trump saying he was hiding in the bunker? First of all, you can't hide in a bunker. You can utilize a bunker. You can't hide in one. That's the whole purpose of a bunker. But they tore him to shreds for that. When it was security detail that took him down there, and he was only down there for a few hours. Whereas this guy's lived in his basement the whole time. But then again, as my mother would say, if they didn't have double standards, they would have no standards at all. Not that my mom's Irish, but I'm just saying. She was married to an Irishman for a while. For a while. It was magically delicious, but we move on. Okay. Oh, I forgot. That's his malarkey thing. No antibodies, no courage whatsoever. And that's a leader? How do you be a leader with no courage? CNN anchor confronts Trump saying, "You're downplaying your sickness. None of your business, lady. Shut your pie hole." President Trump getting an unprecedented mix of cootie virus treatments. This could be risky or exactly the right move. The dude's got courage. He's got guts. It doesn't always. It's like when I was in 4th grade. One of the assignments was you had to read the story about this kid in some island, and he went out into the storm into the ocean. And then at the end of the story, you're supposed to evaluate: was he brave or was he stupid? And in 4th grade, you just do the best you can with that question. But in fact, what you realize is the difference between brave and stupid. It's a very fine line. Victory has a lot to do with deciding which one it is. And in the end, it has a lot to do with, well, did you win? Because if you win, we're going to call that brave. And then you can laugh and say it's stupid, but nobody else can. And it seems to be the way that plays out. And it's the same thing here. Is he being brave or is he being stupid? Well, if he wins, he gets to say brave. But look at it like this. The way my dad explained it, pick one, I've got so many to choose from, was this. Brave is when you're terrified and you do it anyways. Stupid is when you just don't care. I'm not going to make the determination on how Trump feels about doing all this medicine. He's probably immune to a lot of fears that normal people have. when you've hit rock bottom as hard as he has and as many times as he has, and clawed your way back, you get calloused, you get strong. It's strange. In the old days, the British used to say, "Hey, stiff up a lip and all," and people used to take pride, especially in America, in their calluses because it showed they worked. They worked. They had toughness on their hands. They were strong. And now you have to take classes to be sensitive. Why would you ever train somebody to feel more pain? Why would you teach anyone to look for reasons to feel miserable? How is that not psychological and mental abuse? Oh, it is. Yes, but while they couldn't maintain the industry of spinning invisible clothes that only the stupid or unworthy couldn't see for emperors. No, they had to move on to that, to spinning tales of how if you just teach your employees to be sensitive to each other, you'll lose all lawsuits. They'll stop coming up. You won't have any lawsuits. So that's what we mean by lose. Not that you'll go to court and lose. No. You'll lose the need for them because they're going to stop. Right. No wonder you made such a fortune off selling those invisible clothes to emperors. So you're telling me you want me to make them softer and weaker, and that's going to make them not feel more pain? Oh no, they'll feel more pain. They'll just know it's wrong to do. I could go way more into detail in that, but that's not the point. The point is, do you want to feel pain from a guy hiding in the basement in the White House, afraid to do anything, desperately afraid to come out, not going to meet with other world leaders who have already had the cootie and moved on, like this dude has already had the cootie and now it's to move on. This dude now has the antibodies and the T-cell count and all those other medical things that I don't really know much more about, so I'm going to just shut my pie hole at that time. And with that, we thank you for watching. Choose wisely in whichever month you get to vote. But do it before November 3rd. Oh, I forgot, you don't have to anymore. Pennsylvania said you can vote all... Oh, geez, it's so messed up. And remember, if you can't win honestly, you're always welcome to cheat if you're a Democrat. God bless you. We'll see you in the future.